Hey everyone, it's Rio and it's Friday, and what an interesting time it's been in my life. Coming to the end of the semester makes you really reflect on some things that have happened, and it's been a fun thing for me today to look at the content that we have at the end here and really think about how I would run this again, which you'll see. I'm going to ask for your feedback about that. So what I'd like to do is go over what to do for this week in way of, or in the vein of, also talking about the final project, or project 2, which I have done the first draft of the writing, and show you how to do at least the first steps on creating the site, depending on how you're going to approach this. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, and I'm going to give you an option for the last lecture if you're interested in looking at some recent content as of just yesterday. I watched the Chrome Dev Summit that was presented at Google. It was excellent. There was so much good information. And I'm going to recommend that if you, in lieu of watching the costs of free, which I definitely recommend even outside of the terms of this class watching, if you want to, in lieu of that, watch this, go for it. I'll give you a link. Okay? Let's see. Was there anything else? No, I think that was it. So let's actually turn to it and get busy. Okay, so here is that lecture I'd already posted for the last lecture, but I will also provide this link to making, and this is just one of the many. There was 2 days of summit. I think it was 2 days. Yeah, 2 days of summit. And this was probably one of the best talks that I heard from Alex Russell about making web apps appy, which is really something we've kind of touched on, but not really gone in depth in. And some of this information, depending on your level of, will of course be of varying levels of understanding. But I think it's really good to be exposed to these concepts of where Chrome is going and the amazing ability we're starting to have to develop rich online, offline apps with Chrome. So anyway, I'll put that as a link. I'll do that before I finish today. So let's go back here, not the current topics yet. I'm going to talk about the hands-on as a way of actually, like I said before, let me go ahead, and I should have had this up, but I'll do this now, opening the project. If you want to go look at the link inside of our course and projects and scroll down, and you'll see that I have drafted this, and I've made a few changes, and that's actually probably what I should have talked about in the very beginning, but I'll talk about them now. So there's really 3 aspects, and this last aspect of our final is really something that's already in here. I'm just going to have you format it in a way that allows me to use turnitin.com. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to show you an example of how I've started this to show you what I would want the output to look like, is to create your topic chart for 3 to 5 topics. And so here it is. Let me just show it to you. So I used Draw inside of Google Docs and just used their shapes and did, project 2, and then of course here's your 3, and in this case I recommend 3, and you're going to see why in a minute. I think you might want to start with 3. If you need to do 5, that's cool too. And then what you'll do here is link, right, the subtopics that are going to be off of here. So here is examples of different, because this arrangement will vary based on your topics, right? So in this case, I'm assuming this is your page for your major topic, your navigation, linked from project 2, which I'll go over in a minute, the actual how you do this, but this is your concept. And then out of that content, you'll have links to 3 pages. And then out of this page's content, you'll have links to here, and out of that page's content, you'll have a link to there. So this is not flat, and this is not vertical. Okay, so because we have different and so this idea, let me just walk you through it. Your major topic, and then the content from here links to this page, content from this page links to here, and then this content links to, actually in this case, let me think about that, because in this case oh, that's what it would be, is this page actually has links to these two pages, and then that page links to there. So it's really about, first what you want to do is really, and notice how I've color coded them. I want that from you as well, so that I can then distinguish these things, which should be relatively easy. And do know that I want you to have pages that have links, right, that are not just within your major topics. And I believe, let's go back to the requirements here. Okay, so I have both vertical and horizontal links between your subtopics. Now, I haven't said how many here. Okay, so as an example, go back here. So I would want to see at least a couple here, and it shouldn't be very hard to do, where in your content for this item, or even in your content here, you could have also linked to another page, right? That is not within your within your navigation or your main topic, that links to one of the subtopics within the different major topic area. And it might look kind of funny, and I was doing this yesterday, but you still can, and I'm going to do a curved connector here, and I'm just going to click, and that's actually the way you want to do this, is you just click and it'll present you with this. So as an example, let's say I wanted to have this actual page linked content then over into here, right? So I could also show that in a way that does that concept, right? So I at least want, again, I'm going to say minimum of 2. I like to see more than 2, but a minimum of 2 showing this idea of linking, because it shouldn't be very hard. I don't think it will be very hard to do this concept, right? So again, approaching this, you're going to have, and I thought about this too. Let me actually go back to the project and talk about this. So from your navigation, right, from the nav above, select 15. So when I was thinking about this, and I appreciated Robert coming and talking to me, because I thought about this even more depth. So it'd be 15, right, not counting your 3 to 5 major navs, right? So when you're looking at this, and this is why honestly you might want to stick with 3, because then each of these also has to have content. But so these wouldn't be counted as your 15. These are your major topics, and then under here you'd need these are your subpages. You'll need a total of 15 of them. Okay, so this video is really going to serve as a way to help you get through this. And then for the output, now again, I'm talking about project 2 here, is you'll just provide me a link, right? So you'll just come up here and share that and give me a link to it. Okay, so now let's go on to the site. So the key to this is I'm not actually making you share this until the project, but so you can play with this idea, work through the concepts, but when you submit it for project 2, whatever your layout here has to match what you're doing in your site. Okay, so for the site, and again, you can either use Bootstrap or Google Sites, and a total of 18 to 20 pages. And here's where I've talked about 15 are subpages, and 3 to 5 are the major topics. So I'm counting only the subpages and not the major topics here. And each page needs at least 50 words of original content. And that's where I took 50, and trust me, it will be easy for you to do 50 pages, 50 words, 50 pages, 50 words for original content. And here again, if you're using more than 3 major topics, that's more writing you have to do. So maybe that's my incentive to get you to do less. 3, meaning 3 major topics. And then you provide your link here. So the last part of this is really, I'm going to want you to copy and paste, once you've written all your content, into a Google Doc and share it with me. And I will use Turnitin.com to check for originality. And I do that as just a precaution and a encouragement, because I know that And none of you, and let me just turn to you, I know that none of you would think going into this you would do that, but sometimes the pressure of finals gets to all of us, and it's like, I just need to get through this, and I want to get through it the easiest way I can. So don't cheat yourself in the process or cheat the project, because remember, these projects are a major part of what this class is about, and give it its just reward. So I'm giving you a structure to encourage you to write original content, right? So going back here, so each page, I didn't talk about this, what each page is going to need. I'm going to show you an example in a second here. So each page, where did I say this? Oh, here it is. Okay, so each page needs the following 50 words like I talked about, and 2 headings. One content heading, and also then an example of your work, right? So each of these pages. Now, what I'm going to say here is on the 3 major ones. So let me go back here. So on these 3 pages / navigation, because they ultimately will be pages, don't have to have examples of work. They do have to have original content. Okay, so I want you to understand that. And then the original, so then on all the subpages, in addition to the 50 words minimum, right, of content, you do need to have examples of work that you did around that topic. And again, I talked about last week that example, if it's a lecture, could just be some of the notes you took. If it was a hands-on, give me examples of the output. If it was print screens, give me a link to those. Okay, so that every one of these needs those 2 things on each one. Okay, so it needs the content, a title for your content that you're going to write, and the examples of your work. Okay, so I think this video, unless you tell me, may serve for what you need to do here. Okay, so actually, now that I've gone over this, let's actually go to the hands-on and talk about, let me show you how to do this first step in the way of a way of getting you started on doing the project. Now, in this case, if you're going to use sites.google.com, I'll provide a link to a video I have my CIT12 students do to create a site for that class. Now, try not to get confused. It won't be about the topics that you're going to see here. It'll just be about how to create a basic site on sites.google.com to get you started. Okay, so again, you can use whichever one of these you want. I would encourage you to think about trying the bootstrap to do this, but again, I want you more than anything to get through this work. Okay, so let's actually look at this. So what I did, and turning back to it now, what I did is I went ahead and on this computer at my house, I hadn't done this, I downloaded FileZilla, and I did see, by the way, where those 2 things that it was trying to install that seemed like spyware were, and I just said decline in case you need to reinstall. And then of course I set up my FTP, and in this case I actually loaded it locally, and I have brackets here, right? So here's my index page, right? So if you wanted to look at it, let's actually look. Right here it is. This is it up on the server, right? So I'm not going to even require a specific way you do this, right? So right now the file that we're looking at is the index file, and here what I'm going to do is modify this navigation, because I think it would be good for you to have, if you wanted it, a link to your project 1 and then a project 2 link as well. Okay, but again, I'm just showing you a way. As long as you can give me a link to your project 2 file, which I'll show you in a minute how I want to do that, I don't really care. So here's my index file, right? And it does show, this is the div that handles the navigation, right? And I actually already started modifying the content here. So I don't really need this drop-down menu anymore. It's kind of nice to have, but I don't really need it. So I'm going to go ahead, and in this case, I'm going to delete that just to kind of clean up my stuff a little bit here. Okay. And then I don't need even blogs, so I'm actually going to call that project 1. And if you wanted a link there, you could. Then I'm going to call project 2. And so this is going to end up being, right, a very, for this main link, right, that can go into. So in this case, I'm going to link this to a file called project2.html, which I'm about to create. But I just want to show you, right, here's the example. I'm going to hit save it. think that's Control S here. And in this case, I have the live output, so I actually you'll see this. So here's project 1, again, not linked yet, and then project 2 linked to an HTML file I haven't created. Okay, so now let's go create that project 2. So here I'm going to go File, Save As, because I'm going to save the index file, and this is something we did on project 1. Okay, but now I'm going to call this project 2. Okay, I'm going to keep it in the same directory. I'm going to hit save. So here is my project 2. Now, by the way, I don't think, let me do save as and make sure. Oh, I should have. Okay, .html. I assumed it saved as that, but I noticed that how did I notice? Is that the color coding wasn't there, and it may have just been a lag, but it wasn't. Okay, so now here's my project 2. Now I could go back to my index page now, and you can give me either link that you want. I don't think that's the right, let me just look real quick here. I don't think that's the file I was looking, the index file I had before. So I'm just going to go, yeah, it was actually a different one, because I could tell by looking at it, it wasn't. So I'm going to go to my, sorry, it took me a minute to see my desktop there. And go to, there it is, 82. And I'm going to pull up that file, okay? Because once I did a save as, it actually kind of looked like it removed my index from my editor, but it actually had a different index file up there. That's why it got a little confusing. So I'd actually coded this before I got started, right? So under project 2, I went ahead and put project2.html, and I'll show you the output in a second. So now I'm going to move back to my project 2 file, which looks like my index file, but now I'm going to start changing it. Okay, so here, and really, this is not the idea of the proper way to create websites. It's really just the way I'm showing you how to get through this assignment and how to approach this work. So in this case, right, we wouldn't have, and I'm going to put that temporarily back. So this would be topic 1, okay, and then just because I'm going to get a little bit lazy here. Uh-oh. I'm on a PC and I'm sometimes used to using a Mac. I'm going to call this project 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and really this is really a good introduction to start getting you used to what you're going to get if you take CIT82, which I recommend. Okay. So now in this case, these now, okay, so let's just save this. Okay, let's just do File, Save. And now what I do, if I go back to my live editor, right? So I'm going to go back to my home file. I'm going to go back to my index file. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to my index file, which was here. So there was my project 1 that I hadn't linked. And now when I click to project 2, what you will see here, there we go, is there's my 3 headings, right? My 3 major topics, my navigation. And I think it's really good too to, depending on which one you're working on, right, to change this to active, but we won't get crazy like that for this assignment. So now what are we going to do, right? So now so by the way, just doing that right there, you've actually completed the requirements. Okay, so let's actually complete this. Okay. So because this is my server space, I'm going to go down here. I'm already connected. Am I still connected? No, let's do a quick connect real quick. So it looks like I am. Yeah, and the way I can tell I am is I'm here. So the question is, what file did I modify? And I modified, is that right? Here we go. Did I call that part 1? I thought I called that project 1. Let me go look real quick. Go look in my editor. Project CIT82.html. Let me go see why it's not there. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong directory. Oh, maybe I need to refresh my page here to make sure. Yep, there it is. Just for some reason it wasn't showing up. So what do I need to move, right? So that's what I want to show you is what do I need to upload first just to complete this assignment. So what I would want to upload here is my index file that I changed and that file, that project to HTML. So all I'd have to do here, and hopefully you've learned this, and there's a couple ways I can actually just drag these over. Okay, and it's going to tell me there's an index file there. I'm going to go, yeah, overwrite it. So now when I go look at the server, I'm going to refresh it. Okay. And now I should have project 1, which we know is right now not linked. You can link it there. And project 2, which would show me the topics. Okay. So to complete this work, just give me a link to whatever file. Now again, if you're using sites.google.com, you can use that. Give me a link to whatever that output is as well. But just to give you a little more information here, okay? So now on here, you might think about, okay, you know, this could be instead of hello world, this could actually be, you can change this from Jumbotron if you want. So this would be topic 1, right? And you could actually take away, if you wanted, the rest of this content in here because we don't really need it, right? Because it's going to take up space. And again, you could take off, oh, and I'm actually going to take that. Let me remember what that is. Yeah, so I'm going to take off both of these because it's just taking up space in here that I don't really need for this example. Okay, so there would be my topic 1. Oh, actually, let's think about what I'm doing here. This is an important part, so let's think about this. So I'm actually going to go to my live update and look at it. Because I didn't save it yet. Let's go ahead and save it. File, save. So let's actually think about what I just did and if it makes sense, right? So in this case, this is the landing page. I have to look at why that S is still there for my project, right? So I actually should call this project 2, okay? And I can get rid of, right, these other, these other. And there was different ways we talked about this grid, right? So if you go back to your code, right? So go back to the code and look at this, right? These were your rows. So really you only need 1 row here, okay? You can see you can get rid of this and only put 1 row. And then what would you have on that 1 row, right? So this then would be your project. You have your 3, you would have your link to your your main navigation here, and then this would be the landing page for the first page of your project. So I'd write something here, right? It doesn't have to be a lot, and even this could have, of course, links in your writing to these, you know, and you could just say, and it could be very short. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It could be very short, like this, you know, and give your overview of what you've done here, right? How maybe you approach this. I mean, again, you don't have to write a lot of content, and then within, you don't even have. Matter of fact, let's actually say this, because so this would be your heading when you start doing these sub pages, right? So let's go back here, right? So I don't need. Oh, there it is. Right, so I don't need 3 column, and I can change that. I can delete the rest of the content. So here's what I'm thinking about. I'm wondering, and maybe this is what I should do. Maybe this is because I understand how I can keep going down this, and I actually do need to do this to give you the example of the output, right? So I will do that and have 1 more video created for project 2 by the time we go to Thanksgiving next week. But what I think this does is I think this gives you the beginning stages of what you need to have done either in Bootstrap or, and again, I didn't go over sites.google.com because I'll provide a video for that. Either way, beginning you to think about what this looks like, okay? And then for the actual project 2, I will have 1 more video talking about in detail, at least in Bootstrap, how you would do this. And then I'll show you, let's say I should have time to do this, to show you an example of, maybe that's what I'll do is I'll actually take this same concept once I drill it down to the level that I think you need, and then maybe recreate that same thing over on sites.google.com and look at that. Okay, I know this is longer than normal, but I think it's important. Oh, my phone just woke up, wondering, thinking I was talking to it. Have a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully this will actually start you thinking about the concepts of the project in order enough to start flushing out some of these questions, right? So in your writing of the hands-on, if there's things that you're like, hey, Rio, could you make sure you cover these concepts as things that notice I really struggled with in doing this bootstrap assignment. Okay? Oh, and again, it's not required if you're using sites.google.com. I think I've said that a couple times. So, peace out. Happy Thanksgiving.